Hi everyone, welcome to the first episode of our tutorial series on creating an RPG framework in Unreal Engine 5. Today we'll start with the very basics, setting up our project. In this video, we'll cover how to create a new project, set up the character hierarchy, and implement basic player movement. First, let's take a look at how the character hierarchy for an RPG game should be structured. When we look at the majority of games in the RPG genre, we can conclude that the most common RPG characters are players and NPCs. We can further categorize NPCs into humans, animals, and monsters. To start implementing a hierarchy like this, we first need to create an RPG character that will serve as the base for all future characters. Before we start creating specializations for player and NPC characters, we will add one more character abstraction that will serve as the base for all characters created in blueprints. Now we will add player and NPC characters as children of the character base. So, we will create the RPG character in C++, and the character base and others in blueprints. Now, let's dive right in and get started with creating our project in Unreal Engine. For this tutorials we will use Unreal Engine 5.4. Let's start with blank project, select C++, and ensure that starter content is checked. For project name you can enter RPG framework. After project was created you should be able to see it inside Unreal Engine Editor, and you should see Visual Studio Project. Let's go back to Unreal Editor and start creating our character's hierarchy. Open the Tools menu and select New C++ class. For parent class select Character and click on Next button. Enter RPG character for name. Also make sure that you select Public for class type. After all the settings click on Create Class button. After the class was created, go to the Visual Studio Project and click on Reload All button. If you see window like this, you can click on Reload buttons next to Blueprint Support and Visual Studio Integration Tool status. Later it can be useful to detect references of C++ methods inside blueprints. You should be able to see header and C++ file for newly created RPG character. Leave this as is for now. We will use them later during tutorial. Now go back to Unreal Editor to create characters we need in blueprints. Open Content Browser, go to Content folder and create new folder called Blueprints. To be able to recognize this folder easier, you can change its color. I will choose some blue color. Go to the Blueprints folder, right-click and select Blueprint class. Expand all classes and search for our RPG character class we created in C++. With RPG character selected, click on Select button. For the name you can enter BP_character base. Now you can open BP character base. Go to Compile Settings and set Save on Compile to On Success Only. When you click on Compile, changes will be saved automatically. Open Content Browser and create new child blueprint class from BP character base. Name it BP_player. Now open BP Player Blueprint. Go to Skeletal Mesh component, and if you try to set Skeletal Mesh Asset, you will see an empty list. This is because we started with blank game project. To add default Unreal Engine mannequins, go to the Unreal Engine Marketplace. Search for Mannequins Pack. Now click on Add to Project button. Search for our project, and click on Add to Project button. If you are prompted with message like this, click on Yes. When package is added, go back to Unreal Editor. Now you should be able to see available skeletal meshes. Select SKM_Manny. To align skeletal mesh with capsule component, enter -90 for Z location, and -90 for Z rotation. Let's add camera to our player character. First we need to add spring arm to the root of our blueprint. Name it Camera Boom. Then, under the Camera Boom, add camera component. Name it Follow Camera. For now we will do only basic camera setup. Detailed camera setup will be covered in future episodes. Select Camera Boom and drag it up to align with bottom of the head of our mesh. For target arm length, enter 400. Now select Follow Camera. Go to Parent Socket and select Spring Endpoint. Then click on Compile. Open the event graph. Create custom event and name it Add Input Mappings. Get Pawn Controller, cast it to Player Controller. Drag the connection from Player Controller pin, search for Enhanced Input Local Player Subsystem. Check if it is valid. Drag the connection from Enhanced Input Local Player subsystem and search for Add Mapping Context node. Connect this node to as valid pin from previous node. You can select all nodes and comment them. Now open Content folder and create new folder, name it Inputs. Inside Inputs folder, create new Input Mapping Context, name it IMC_default. Then create new folder called Actions. Open it and create new input action, name it IA_move. Create one more input action with name IA_look. Click on Save All button. Now open IA Move input action and change value type to Axis 2D. Save and close it. Do the same process for IA Look. Now open Default Mapping Context. Add new action mapping and assign IA Move to it. Expand it and add 4 control bindings to it. For first binding, assign keyboard key W. For second, S. For third, D. And A for last one. Expand first binding and add 1 modifier. Select Swizzle input axis values for the modifier type. For second binding, add 2 modifiers, first of type Swizzle input axis values, and second of type negate. Leave third one as is. For last one, add 1 modifier of type negate. Now add 1 more action mapping and assign IA Look to it. For the control binding, select Mouse XY 2D axis. Expand it and add 1 modifier of type negate. Be sure to uncheck checkboxes near X and Z axis. Now save mapping context and close it. Go back to BP Player, find Add Input Mappings Context node and select IMC Default for mapping context. Go to Event Begin Play and add Input Mappings node to it. Then click on Compile. Next thing we need to do is to add input actions to BP Player. Right-click on empty space in Event Graph and search for IA Move. Right-click on Action Value Pin and split it. Drag new connection from triggered pin and connect it to the Add Movement Input node. To find direction in world space in which we need to add movement input, first we need to get control rotation. Split the return value pin. You should see separate pins for roll, pitch, and yaw. Then we need to create right vector from roll and yaw components of previous node. This vector will represent world direction for movement input. For scale value we should use action value, X. This will add movement input to left or right direction. Now let's do the same for forward and backward input. We will add one more movement input node. Again we will need control rotation. Instead of right vector, now we need to create forward vector from the yaw component of the previous node. This vector will represent world direction of the movement input. For scale value we should use action value Y. Now we should add camera movement. Search for IA look action. Split action value. Drag new connection from triggered pin and connect it to add controller yaw input. Connect action value X to its value. Drag out new connection and search for add controller pitch input. Connect action value Y to its input. In the Components view, select BP Player. Go to Details view and search for Rotation. Find Orient Rotation to Movement and check it. Then find Use Controller Rotation Yaw and uncheck it. Now click on Camera Boom and in Details panel check Use Pawn Control Rotation. Compile BP Player. Now let's go to map that is created automatically when we create the project. Click on Save icon. Create new folder called Maps Inside or Content folder. Select this folder as destination for our new map, and enter world for map name, then click on Save. In Place Actors panel, find Player Start, and drag it to the map. Then click on Save. Go to Blueprints folder and create new Game Mode Blueprint. Name it BP_RPG Game Mode. Open it, go to Class Defaults, set BP, Player for default Pawn class. Compile it. Now go back to our map to set up game mode we just created. One more thing we need to set up is animation class for our player. Go back to Player Blueprint and set up ABP, Manny for the animation class. Compile Player Blueprint and click on Run button. Now we have basic third-person character movement. Like in majority of the games and genre, movement direction will be oriented toward third-person camera. This was only basic movement. Advanced locomotion and third-person camera tuning will be covered in future episodes of this tutorial series. In the next video, we will set up character attributes. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss it. If you'd like to support the channel and get access to exclusive content, consider joining my Patreon. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.